We are continuing Shloka 37 purport. Okay, this is a long purport. Amazing explanation by the Acharyas here are given of Krishna's eternal Leelas, particularly of Shringara Rasa, Madhurya Rasa explained. So here in the purport is quoted Śrī Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita, where it is said that Sadanantai Prakashaswar Leela Bhishcha Sadivyati. So what is the translation? Krishna is performing his pastimes with unlimited manifestation, unseen to the world at all times. So this is a pastime in spiritual Goloka. Sometimes within material world, he performs pastimes starting with his appearance along with his associates, using one manifestation of pastimes among his many manifestations of these Leelas. So here the Leelas of Gokul are mentioned also. So this is further explanation is that although Krishna has unlimited manifestation which are invisible to material world at all the times, aprakata lila, among all these different manifestations, with one manifestation he performed pastime within material world, refers actually in Vrindavan within the universe, along with his associates. So again, that understanding is that whatever leelas is happening in spiritual, they are actually manifested in the material also. But here you can see in purport, particular few are mentioned, that his birth and other pastimes, which are not manifested in Goloka, in Gokul they are manifested. I will see very soon why is this particularly mentioned. Okay. The divine sportive potency fills the heart of his paraphernalia with appropriate spiritual sentiments in confirmatory with the will of Krishna. So when associates come with him, according to particular rasa, the spiritual potency, Yoga Maya potency, inspires particular sentiment in the heart of conjugal rasa, Shringara Rasa, Madhurya Rasa, or Vatsalya Rasa, or Sakhya Rasa, whatever is required. Here particularly we are discussing these pastimes. Those pastimes that manifest themselves on the mundane plane are his visible pastimes, Prakata Lila. All those very pastimes exist in their non-visible form in Goloka. So aprakata lila becomes prakata. It's the same lila. That's the idea. Unmanifested in Goloka because we cannot see it, and becomes manifested within material realm, but it's not material. Okay. Beyond the ken on mundane knowledge. Okay. So beyond the scope of mundane knowledge. In his visible pastimes, Krishna sojourns in Gokul, Mathura, and Dwaraka. Those pastimes that are non-visible in those three places are visible in the spiritual sides of Vrindavan. So again, just mentioned the pastimes of Krishna performing in three different places. From the conclusion just stated, it is clear that there is no distinction between visible and non-visible pastimes. Okay, there is no difference, aprakata, prakata lila. There is nothing is material. This shloka particularly stresses this, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Krishna's relation with the gopis, with the gopas in Vrindavan, these are all spiritual affairs, and they are spiritual personalities. There is nothing material there. So there is all explanation. Why? Because this is most sensitive, most difficult thing to explain. How, why Krishna will dance with others' wives, why he is stealing something, why he is doing something mischievous, why, all these things, because from mundane material point of view, one cannot understand Krishna lives. Atatsa Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grahyam Indra. It's not possible to understand with material senses. Although one may even see Krishna's pastime manifested by Krishna's mercy in material world, but still one may not understand properly. So the apostle, this is translation of saint, devotee, apostle, the Christian term, apostles. The apostle Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on this shloka, as well as in gloss of Ujjwala Nilamani and in Krishna Sandarbha, remarks that the visible pastime of Krishna are the creation of his chit spiritual potency. So immediately you can see that Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they are quoting Jiva Goswami, showing that yes, the even visible pastime of Krishna are spiritual, nothing material. Being in conjunction with the reference to mundane function, they exhibit certain features which seem to be true by the influence of limiting potency Maya. But these cannot exist in the transcendental reality because it looks so mundane. Krishna is born, no? Krishna is crying, Krishna is hungry, Krishna is getting angry. So you may misunderstand, oh, these are material feelings. The destruction of demons, illicit paramorship, birth, etc. are examples of these peculiarities. So these are the things that people misunderstand. Oh, some demons, and these, if you see this, okay, I don't know, I'll just say it comes automatic. The gopis are the extension of the ecstatic energy of Krishna. Expansions of Hladini Shakti, her own bodily expansions, gopis. Nija Rupataya. Remember, we were discussing last time. Nija Rupataya Kalab means Radharani's own expansion. And so are exceptionally his own. So they are his own potencies. So where is the question of paramorship, of paramour relationships, illicit relationships? Where's the question? These are his own potencies. How can there be illicit connection in their case? The illicit mistressship of the gopis, found in his visual pastimes, is but the mundane reflection of the transcendental reality. That they see it mundanely, they see it material. But it's not. It is actually spiritual relationship, because in material we see everything mundane, it's material. We see deity, it's material. We see sadhu, it's some old man speaking. Maybe a wise, but it's just like us. Seeing guru, deities, shaligram, mundane is offensive. The hidden meaning underlying the words of Jiva Goswami, when it is made explicit, will leave no doubt in the minds of the readers. Srila Jiva Goswami is a preacher of transcendental truth, so he is always under the influence of Sri Rupa and Sanat. Moreover, in the pastimes of Krishna, Sri Jiva is one of the manjaris, so he is conversant with all transcendental realities. Now, this is interesting. The way Srila Jiva Goswami comments on this shloka. We'll see in a few moments, we'll come to that. That Srila Jiva Goswami explains the shloka that gopis are all wives of Krishna. Krishna is their husbands. And he will quote so many shlokas to show that. So there is no any discussion about this illicit thing by mundane people. Yeah? And the thing is that you may say, but we know it's parakya. It's a non-Vedat relationship, you may say. No, Vedat means Swakya, a relation between husband and wife, a relation between the lover and the loved one, is which are unmarried. It's called Parakya. So we know it's Parakya, but Srila Jiva Goswami explained the shloka as a Swakya. No? And that also is true. And you will see how he explains. So, so this is very amazing in this purport. The whole purport actually explains these features now. That's only what is explained. It's a huge, the biggest purport in Brahma-saṁhitā, I guess. Maybe first shloka has also as big purport like this. But how sensitive is this, and how clearly our Acharya is explaining, how much energy and shlokas and really clearly explaining to us that we should not misunderstand this. Otherwise, there is no spiritual advancement. You cannot see this materially, and you should have not doubt that Krishna did something wrong. It's, because this is really something most condemned in material world. And in spiritual world, in spiritual sphere, it's completely the supreme rasa. So this is where people of morality or mundane world, they cannot understand, they cannot digest. Many times in India, when we preach or travel with these few books, we see people can easily relate Ram. But when you say Krishna, they like it, but some little hesitation is there about this Ras Leela, about the gopis, about stealing the clothes of the gopis and all these things. Difficult for people to understand. But Acharyas who look what it meant. Sri Jiva is one of the manjaris. He's there in Krishna Leela. He explains the truth of the nature of those pastimes. Okay, so here, continuing the purport. There are some who, being unable to understand the drift of his statements, give meanings of their own invention and indulge in useless controversies. Now, because Srila Jiva Goswami comments on this shloka, that Swakya, actually they are married, husband and wife. This is the relation. Then some people start speculating. No, we know it's Parakya, it's Swakya, and then all this big controversy come. but actually our acharyas explain. There's no contradiction, and it will be explained in the paper. Śrīla Rupa and Sanatana said that there is no real and essential distinction between Leelas visible and non-visible. The only distinction lies in this, that one is manifest in mundane sphere, whether the other is not. So there is no difference. If Krishna has same Leela in spiritual world, how can be those Leelas in material world material? How can be material? It's not material. There's no distinction. They are both spiritual. In the super mundane manifestation, there is absolute purity in the seer and the seen. A particularly fortunate person, when he is favored by Krishna, can shake off worldly shackles and connections, enter the transcendental region after attaining the realized taste of varieties of rasa that is available during the period of noviates. Only such person can have a view and taste of the perfect and absolute pure Leela of Goloka. So here, example is, who can see that these spiritual pastimes are non-different? Person who is very advanced, who is blessed with his Swarupa, who is blessed with Krishna's permission to enter into spiritual world and see it himself. He can actually appreciate and relish it. And these are very rare. These are very rare souls. Such receptive nature are rarely to be found. He who exists in mundane sphere can also realize the taste of Chidrasa by grace of Krishna, by being enabled to attain the realized state of the service. Such a person can have a view of the person of Goloka manifested in mundane Leela of Gokul. So now those who are practicing sadhana, who are aspiring, who are pure devotees, first step is that actually you are allowed to take birth in the manifested Leela within material world of Krishna, and there you can relish the same rasa. So this is second example of person who can actually relish it and who can actually see that there's no difference. There is certainly a difference between these two classes of eligible seekers of the truth. Until one attains the perfectly transcendental stage, he must be hampered by lingering limitations in his vision of pastimes of Goloka. Again, the vision of transcendental reality varies according to the degree of self-realization. This vision of Goloka must also vary accordingly. So unless one is completely pure, and actually one realizes, one sees, remember those statements, seeing Gokul and Goloka and seeing Goloka and Gokul. Until that, one can see on certain degree of revelation of the spiritual world. According to one's advancements, Lord reveals his Dham, his abode, his pastimes. So it's gradually as we advance, it's more and more revealed to the practitioner, like that. It is only those feathered souls, feathered souls means chained, the shackles on the leg, this is what it means. It is only those feathered souls who are excessively addicted to worldliness that are devoid of devotional eye. So only these souls who are bound in material world, you can say they are devoid of devotional eye. They cannot see. Remember next loka, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochana. So they have no devotion, they cannot see. So those who are in material bondage, they have no devotional eye to see. Of them, some are enmeshed by variegatedness of the deluding energy, while others aspire after self-annihilation under the influence of centrifugal knowledge. What is it? Some are karmas and some are jnanis who are impersonalists. This is what it is meant. No, after self-annihilation means referring to jnanis who want to merge into Brahman. They don't want their Swarupa to be revealed. They don't want to serve the Lord. So this is called self-annihilation. Okay. Though they might have a view of mundanely manifest pastimes of Supreme Lord, maybe they can even see Krishna's Leela manifested within material world, they can have only a material conception of those visible pastimes. This conception being devoid of transcendental reality. So they cannot see. Even if they see, they will not see. Even if they see Krishna Leelas, they will not understand that Krishna is supreme. They will not understand spiritual nature of their relationship. They will not understand any of this. Karmis and jnanis, they have no access to see the eternal spectrum, eternal transcendental position, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. They will not be able to see. Hence, the realization of Goloka appears in proportion to eligibility due to the degree of one's self-realization. So according to how much we are pure in devotion, this much will be understanding these topics, this lila, or seeing it properly. The underlying principle is this, that though Goloka is as holy and free from dross as Goloka, still it is manifested on the mundane plane by the influence of the Chit potency, Yoga Maya. In visible and non-visible matters of transcendental regions, there is no impurity, contamination, and imperfection inherent in the world of limitation. Only there is some difference in the matter of realization in proportion to self-realization seekers after the Absolute. So this is again said, that underlying principle is that the Gokul and Goloka, there is no difference. Just one is manifested within the material world, but that's also manifested by Yoga Maya. It's spiritual. And what is the difference? Difference is some mundane people are able to see it because it's manifested in material world, and therefore they see it different. Because according to their degree of their realization, their purity, of their ability to perceive it. So this is what they said. Impurity, unwholesomeness, foreign elements, illusion, nescience, unholiness, utter indequency, insignificance, grossness, these apparent to the eye, intellect, mind, and ego, stultified by the material nature of conditioned souls. They have nothing to do with the essential nature of transcendence. So all these elements, all these faults you find, whether it's immorality or whatever, mundane, you may say mundane feelings, none of them exist in Krishna Leelas. It is mistaken. It is mistaken. If somebody say, oh, Krishna also cries, Krishna also afraid, Krishna also had to eat, these are all mundane perception, nothing to do. It's not true. It's misunderstanding. What to speak of Krishna's Leelas with gopis. The more one is free from these blots, the more is one capable of realizing unqualified absolute. The truth, who has been revealed by the scripture, is free from dross. But the realization of the seeker of knowledge of these realities are with or without flaw in accordance with the degree of their individual realization. Again, that is emphasized. That why they are seeing difference, because the Hari Charana Jushas Taram Tam Yashatesh. There is a gradation according to absorption in pure devotion. So the 64 hours that have been enumerated above do in reality exist unstintedly only in Goloka. So the pure form of these 64 arts and crafts we are discussing, and many of them are particular aspects, particular activities, skills to use in Shingara's pastimes, in Madhurya Leelas, those have their reality exists unstintedly, completely pure, without any fault, without anything mundane in Goloka. Unwholesomeness, insignificance, grossness are found in those arts in accordance with the degree of self-realization on the part of aspirants after the knowledge of absolute truth. So not only the Leelas, but even these 64 arts and crafts, you may perceive them materially, and if you are materialistic. I was looking, where is the Shastra, which Shastra discuss more about the 64 arts and crafts and this and that. Wanted to see a little more details in this. So where do you find it? Vatsayana's Kama Sutras, there where it is mentioned. Who was trained in mundane platform? Concubines. They were trained in those arts and crafts. They were trained in those different activities, different skills, and they were used for different purposes. So it's in material world, this is how it is known. So when you say gopis are skilled in 64 hours ago, oh, gopis are skilled. Yeah. The people are shocked. They cannot understand how can something like this be pure? How can something like this be transcendental? How can something which usually in material relate as immoral, it's supremely moral, the highest morality. If a wife runs away from the husband and goes to the lover, this is the worst thing can happen in material world. The worst thing, the worst punishment, the worst experience, condemn, immorality, bad, it's a cause of suffering now, and it's cause of going to hell, is really condemned and really bad, the worst. And then when Krishna does this with the gopis, this is the topmost spiritual reality. So to understand this, it takes to hear from the parampara, from the bona fide acharya, from the manjaris who are there, from the purest souls, who are tattvadashis, who knows the truth about these pastimes. Okay, according to Śrī Rupa and Sanatana, all those pastimes, they have been visible in Gokul, exist in all purity and free from all tinge or limitations in Goloka. So now you see how it is placed. It's placed opposite. Usually we say whatever exists in Goloka exists in Gokul. But now, whatever you see in Gokul, that also exists in this pure form in Goloka. So if Krishna is dancing with gopis in the Gokul, definitely there is that exists. Those relationships exist in the Goloka. Particularly, we are speaking about this Parakya and Swakya. That if you keep that in mind, then you can follow the purpose. So transcendental autocrat, Paramorshi, also exists in Goloka in inconceivable purity, judged by the same standard and reasoning. So he says that definitely this Parakya exists in the Goloka also. All manifestations by Chit potency, Yoga Maya, are pure. So as the above Paramorship is the creation of Yoga Maya, it is necessarily free from all contamination and appertance to the absolute reality. So this is what has happened. Let us pause to consider what the absolute reality is in himself. Śrī Rupa Goswami says, Purvokta Sarata. In regard to this shloka, Śrīpad Jiva Goswami, after mature deliberation, has established the transcendental paramorship as Vibrahma Vilas, something seemingly different from what it appears to be. Such are the pastimes of birth accomplished by Yoga Maya. Okay, so here by explanation, Tatapi Vrajavanitanam, Tatapi Vrajavanitanam, Srila Jiva Goswami has expressed his profound implication. So now what is this? This is, here I'll just share with you. Tatapi Patipura Vanitanam, Vitiyo Vrajavanitanam. So now there's people who are confusing this comment of Srila Jiva Goswami, explaining that Nija Rupa Taya Kalabi means his own wives, that Swakya is prominent, are defeated here by the Acharyas, by Srila Jiva Goswami himself, who explains here that it is understood in his own writing. Srila Jiva Goswami says, it is understood that the mood of being married exists in Dwaraka, while the Vraja Sundaris have the transcendental Paramor mood. So you can see in other writings, Srila Jiva Goswami explains there is Parakya Rasa. But here in this particular purport, he wrote Swakya, 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 just to cover up all the comments by the mundane people, by the mundane scholars, by those who are not devotees. No? But the thing is that the way he explains, you will see now the shlokas, is also true. The way he explains, that is also true. That gopis are Krishna's Nija Rupa Taya Kalapi, So you will see now his quotes. It's very amazing. Because both truth can exist simultaneously in absolute. Both explanations are absolutely valid. There's nothing, there's no fault in his explanation. And you cannot say, oh, this is just to cover up, but actually something else. No, both are true. Though one is protective of the sensitive subject, but also explanation is absolute truth also. So here, this is Sri Jiva Goswami's commentary here. You see this. Aneka Janba Siddhanam Gopinam Patireva. Patir. He is the husband of many gopis who achieved that perfection after many births. Gautamya Tantra. Uttara Tapani Upanishad. Savo hi Swami Bhavati. Savo hi Swami Bhavati. He is your husband. So this is Swami. We are even in Tamil Nadu. You say Swami? Yeah. In Kashikanda, Yamaraj says, "O husband of the gopis, O master of Yadus, O son of Vasudeva." You see this? Again, Krishna is the husband of gopis. Correct? Krishna didn't marry any gopi. Correct? He got married in Dwaraka. But actually, because Nija Rupate Kalabi, these are his own potency, these are his own property, these are his own wives, these nobody else's wives. Okay. In musical scripture, it is said, the infinite husband of the gopis is controlled by sound of the flute. Again, husband of the gopis is used. As what it said, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of lotus feet of the husband of the gopis. Again, so many shastras say the Krishna is clearly referred the husband of the gopis. So where is the question that this or not? And Shastra says gopis never had any intimate relationship with their so-called husbands in Vrindavan. That's also quoted by acharyas. Okay, and those husbands also manifestation of Krishna's potency. And that will be explained later why and how. Not that some jivas, enter into Krishna Leelas and then Krishna steal their wives. Husbands also manifestation of Krishna's potency. So where is the blame then? It's a Leela. Lord set it up like this. It will be explained a little more. Shankaracharya's Yamuna Stotra is quoted also. You should have attraction for the lotus feet of husband of Radha. Even for Radharani, Krishna is referred as a husband. Okay, Lalita Madhava, the marriage of Radha and others to Krishna is clearly described. There is a pastimes of marriage also. So you can see Śrī Goswami quotes. He say, hold on, where is the question of an illicit relation? Sridhar Swami's commentary on Bhagavatam, he says, Rishabhasya Jagu Kriyanti means the gopis sang about the activities of their husbands, of their husband. What husband activity? They were singing about Krishna's activities only. Their husband means Krishna, not that they were singing their husband's activity. No? So this is what Srila Jiva Goswami explained. He explains that in the Goloka, the Lord accepts gopis as his own wives, Nija Rupate. Though during the passes on earth, he accepts them as other person's wives. Apparently, they are other person's wives. You remember in Goloka, there is no husbands of the gopis. They do not exist. The personality is another. But in Gokul, those husbands are manifested for the sake of the Leela. So this Srila Jiva Goswami said that this is how Lord refers. Because it is impossible that they are other person's wives, since they are supreme Lakshmis. And that is also quoted. Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha, or what is it? Sahasra Koti, Lakshmi Sahasra. So again, in shlokas, gopis are refers to be Lakshmis. And Lakshmis belong to Vishnu. They belong to Krishna, to nobody else. These are his own wives. So therefore, we understand that there is no question of something immoral. So in order to increase the sense of longing in his pastimes on earth, there is appearance of there being others' wives, by the covering the pastimes of there actually being his wives alone. So to intensify love between the gopis, this situation is created by Yoga Maya, that they belong to somebody else. So the longing becomes more stronger, more when something is not easily available, one's desires increase. So this is a Lord's transcendental pastime. This is why it is done. This is why it apparently appears that they are wives of other people, but they are not. Actually, they are not. So this occurs through his own spiritual potency, Yoga Maya. So here, so anyway, there are many shlokas quoted here. And after the quoting all these shlokas, we can see that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a little comment on this, explains this. He says like this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explanation of this purport. He says, just mark how the greatest of preceptors, Sarvagya, Srila Jiva Goswami, has kept this subject matter extremely confidential, revealing and elaborating these truths only rarely within his commentaries and compositions such Kṛṣṇa Sandarbha. Because in Kṛṣṇa Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami speaks about Parakyaras, but not in this particular purport. He was always apprehensive that unauthorized and non-eligible persons would pervert the meaning of these arcane topics and seek authorization therein for their practice of aberration. So what it means that he was always fearing that they will use Krishna's pastimes for themselves to engage in illicit activities. And it happens, Apa Sampradaya, it happens. It happens in Krishna Leela that, oh, you're Krishna and all the ladies can mingle with their guru, he's Krishna. Or they will think that having illicit relation is kind of spiritual realization, that you can achieve Krishna only if you have illicit sex. What are asking? Or they would even say, they will ask other people, Shishyas, to send their wife to the guru. All kinds of, then they will dress as a gopis. They will dress as a female, male will dress as a female. So you have all kinds of Shaki Bekis and this. And then you have in Chaitanya Lila, Apa Sampradaya, who thinks that Chaitanya is Krishna and we should enjoy. So they are worshipping Chaitanya in Madhurya Rasa, thinking to having Ras Lila with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All kinds of bogus ideas. It's unbelievable. So you can see why this is done. And you see Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained, no? That he kept his subject matter extremely confidential. So when we were debating with others, scholars or something on these people who have doubt in Krishna, Swakya, you see, husbands. There is no blame. But actually, we understand that, and it's also true. According to Shastra, that's also true. In many ways, they explain how this is true. And we understand also Parakya, and why is that? Because this is the highest love. This is the biggest expression of love, the biggest loving, the biggest tension, the biggest. It's set up that is difficult to achieve, and the love expands like anything. So this is explained. Srila Jiva Goswami explains also in Vaishnava Toshan. In order to remove the doubts about Parakya in the Prakata pastimes, the verse says, Nija Rupa Teya Kalabi. So now Srila Jiva Goswami says, why this Brahma using this Nija Rupa Teya Kalabi? Just that you have no any doubt that this Parakya is something immoral. Nija Rupa Teya Kalabi. His expansion, which he accepts as his own forms. At the beginning and the end, gopis are said to have position of Lakshmis. So again, he quotes Shintamani Prakara Sannos, Shriya Kanta, like that, you know. So, okay, I'll read again from the purport, then we'll continue with the quotes. Joyous the concluding statements of Rupa and Sanatan. Wait. Joyous pastimes by the medium of seeming error, Vibrama Vilas, as the contrivance of Yogamaya, has also been admitted in the concluding stanzas Rupa and Sanatan. That these are all manifestations of spiritual potency, this setup of paramoksha. Still, since Srila Jiva Goswami has established the identity of Goloka with Gokul, it must be admitted that there is a transcendental reality underlying all pastimes of Gokul. So, again, they are saying the point, no? That it must be admitted there is transcendental reality, because in Gokul, if it's happening, no? It must be transcendental. In Goloka is also happening. So this is what they say, that Parakya Rasa is there in Goloka also exists. As husband is one who binds oneself in wedlock with a girl. This is the definition of husband. Paramour is one who, in order to win another's wife's love by means of love, crosses the convention of morality by the impulse of the sentiment that regards her love as the be-all and end-all of existence. So this is the definition of Swakya and Parakya, and this looks so mundane definition. Even in mundane world, we will say the same definition. Correct, this is true. In Goloka, there is no such function at all as that of the nuptial relationship. Now, what is happening in Goloka? This concept of Swakya is not present there. That is in Dwaraka, Mathura maybe. That is in Vaikunta, but not in Goloka, not in Vrindavan. Hence, there is no husbandhood characterized by such connection. On the other hand, since the gopis who are self-supported, real entities, are not tied to anybody else in wedlock, they cannot also have the state of concubinage. Concubine means that the lady who has relation with somebody else than husband. So you cannot say in Goloka that gopis are, immoral or something, because they don't have husbands in Goloka at all. There's no any mention of that. Krishna is there and they are his lovers and they are not married, but they are not wives of anybody else. So this is situation in Goloka. There can also be no separate entities in the form of Swakya, conjugal, and Parakya, adulterous states. In the visible pastimes mundane plane, the function in the form of nuptial relation is found to exist. Now, in the visible pastimes of mundane plane, means in Gokul, when Leelas are manifesting material, looks like there is a wedding. Looks like the gopis are wedded. Nuptial relation means wedded. Krishna is beyond the scope of that function. Hence, the said function of the circle of all love is contrived by Yoga Maya. Krishna takes the transcendental rasa akin to paramorship by overstepping that function. These pastimes are going beyond the pale of the apparent moral function manifested by Yoga Maya, is however also observable only on the mundane plane by the eye that is enwrapped by the mundane covering. But there is reality no such levity in the pastimes of Krishna. So because Krishna enacted this pastime in such a way that in mundane sphere, the gopis looks like wedded to somebody else to enhance the rasa. Mundane people find the fault in it, find immorality, find that although everything is actually manifestation yoga maya. The rasa of paramorship is certainly the extracted essence of all rasas. Now parakya is glorified. The essence of all rasas, parakya rasa. It is to be said that it does not exist in Goloka. It will be highly depreciatory of the Goloka. If you say that cannot be in spiritual something like this, like Ras Leela and this, then you are not appreciating, you are minimizing glories of Goloka. This is what the shloka says. Because this is the highest, this is the essence of all rasas. Why? Because that intensity, that love, it's million times greater, stronger, intense, what do you say, to Krishna than in Swakya. That is much more powerful. It is not the fact that there is no supremely wholesome intensity rasa in the supremely excellent realm of Goloka. You cannot say that this is not there. It is there. Krishna, the fountainhead of all avatars, tastes the same in a distinct form in Goloka and another distinct form in Gokul. Therefore, in spite of seeming appearance to the mundane eye of outstepping the bounds of legitimate function by the form of paramorship, there must be present the truth of it in some form, even in Goloka. So although you may say immoral, but because it is essence of all rasa, it is spiritual. And these are same pastimes manifested here and there. And they are all made by spiritual potency. And the nature, Nija Rupata, Kalabi, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. You see, everything is just, all purpose is just focused on this shloka. Therefore, it must be there in Goloka also, Parakyaras. And again is quoted, Atma Ramo Pyari Ram, Ari Ramat, Atmanyan, Aviruddha, Saurata, Reme Vraja Sundarivi, Yatar Bhakha, Pratibimba Vibhramaha. Again, what is said? Krishna is self-satisfied. Atmaram, he is self-satisfied. So there is no question of lust. There is no question of mundane attraction. There is no question of Krishna being attracted to anything material. Nija Rupatya Kalavi. This is spiritual potency. Okay, and other texts of the scripture go to show that self-delightedness is the essential distinct qualities of Krishna himself. Self-satisfied, self-sufficient, not in need of any external object for his satisfaction. There is no need for him to enjoy anybody's wife. He is fully self-satisfied. Krishna in his majestic Chitran causes the manifestation of his own chit potential, Lakshmi, and enjoys her as his own wedded consort in the majestic chit realm. What is that? Aishwarya Dham, Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, Lord manifested from his own chit spiritual potency, Lakshmi, and marries her and enjoys Svakya Rasa. As this feeling of wedded consorthood preponderates, that rasa expand in a wholesome form only up to the state of servanthood, Dasya Rasa. So you are wedded, but still the prominence is of Dasya Rasa, of all Vaikuntha, all Aishwarya. Although you are in Svakya, but still the predominant feeling is that of Dasya Rasa, is not Madhurya Rasa. It's Madhurya Rasa, you may say, he's enjoying with Lakshmi, but the prominent feeling is Dasya. Still, the awe and reverence of her to him is not that of lovers of Madhurya Shringara in Goloka. But in Goloka, he divides up his chit potency into thousands of gopis and eternally engages amorous pastimes with them by forgetting the sentiments of ownership. Sentiments of ownership means awe and reverence. But this is how it is expressed in English. By the sentiments of ownership, there cannot be the extreme inaccessibility of the rasa. So the gopis have naturally, from eternity, the innate sentiment of being others' wedded wives. Innate sentiment, abhiman, the concept that we are other men's wives. The husbands do not exist in Goloka, but they have this concept. So there is a tension. They cannot freely meet Krishna. So their love is much more enhanced. Abhiman in Sanskrit. The concept, concept demons are there. Concept husbands are there. There's a tension. Krishna, Krishna, how to meet you, where to see you, save us or come to meet us, relieve us from suffering. We cannot. We have to hide in the public, in society. So this is what is explained here. No? Krishna too, in response to that sentiment, by assuming the reciprocal sentiment of paramorship, perform rasa and other amorous pastimes with the aid of the flute, his favorite cherami. Cherami in French language means my best friend. So what is that? Krishna also, because they have that abhiman, that I have husband, but Krishna is my lover. Krishna says, I'm also your lover. We are not married. Why? To reciprocate this rasa. Goloka is the transcendental seat of eternally self-realized rasa, beyond limited conception. Hence, in Goloka, there is realization of the sentimental assumption of the rasa of paramorship. Abhiman, that means that the devotees that they set their mind, Krishna is our lover. And this is how Krishna performs his pastimes, you know. But there is no question of illicit relation. There's no question of husbands at all, not in the picture. Okay, so just a second. Okay, this is a long purport. Don't mind that, but we'll try to just read through the purport. Because it's all discussion is so sensitive for our Gaudiya Vaishya Sampradaya, for people who challenge us on the road. Tomorrow you'll distribute books and say, oh, why Krishna is dancing with other men's wife? And you quote, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratipavita Stabhireva Nija Rupateya Kalavi. How you know Krishna dance with other people's wives? Bhagavatam says, Shastra says, Veda says. They also says that these are his own, Nija Rupate, from his own form, his own expansions. You are enjoying things in your house because you earn it by your own money, correct? You are enjoying TV, you are enjoying house, car, food, everything. Nobody is blaming you for that. Why? Because this is your own, you earn it. You are the owner. Nija Rupate, Krishna is owner of all of this. He has right to enjoy all of this. Why are you blaming him? And you are, by the way, temporary owner. So you can give one book to read about this point also. Okay. Again, such is the nature of principle of the majesty that in the realm of Vaikuntha, there is no rasa of parental affection towards the source of all avatars also. In Vaikuntha, not only that Madhurya rasa and Shringara are not manifested to that extent, even with wedded wife, there is no Vatsalya rasa with avatars. There is nobody, parents of Matsya avatar, Nrsimha avatar, nobody relish that rasa. That's also not there in Vaikuntha. No? This is explained. But in Goloka, the seat of all super excellent deliciousness, there is no more than the original sentiment, egoistic assumption of the samrasa. Egoistic assumption means abhiman, There is no material ego. Ego means identity. There is identity of Swarupa of the soul, the real ego, that I'm servant of God in particular rasa. So egoistic assumption means again abhiman, that's setting on the mind. So look at this. This is interesting. There Nanda and Yashoda are visibly present, but there is no occurrence of birth. There is no occurrence of birth. In Goloka, there is no birth of Krishna Lila. But abhiman is there. We are parents of Krishna. We are taking care. We are taking care. Okay. For want of occurrence of the birth, the assumed egoistic sentiment of parental affection, Nanda and Yashoda, has no foundation in actual existence of such entities as father and mother. But it is of the nature of sentimental assumption of their parts. Abhiman. Jayati Janani Vasu Devaki Janmavada. So that's the point, that all the birth never occur. Their mindset is that emotion, that bhav they have. Oh, this is our child, we'll take care of him. All the birth never occur. For the purpose of the realization of rasa, the assumed egoistic sentiment, abhiman, is however eternal. In the rasa of amorous love, if the corresponding egoistic sentiment of concubinage and paramorship be mere eternal assumption, there is nothing to blame in them, and it is also does not go against the scriptures. Now again, same thing, like although Nanda and Yashoda, they never seen the birth, they never given birth to Krishna, but that abhimana is there, that type of consciousness, understanding that Krishna, my son, is there, they relish Vatsalya rasa. Similarly, all the gopis are never married to anybody, but they have this anubhav that we are lovers. We are his lovers, he is our lover. Paramorship, concubinage. Now, because of that, Krishna is manifesting that, exchanging the rasa with them. Same like Yashoda and Nanda, they never given birth to Krishna, but still they are accepted Vatsalya rasa. Same thing. Gopis, they never had husband, but they are accepted as lovers of Krishna, not wedded. To relish that rasa, to encourage it. When those transcendental entities of Goloka became manifest in Raja, now look at this, then those two egoistic sentiments become somewhat more palpable to the mundane view in phenomenal world, and there comes to be this much difference only. So what happened now? In Gokul, when these passages are manifest in Gokul, Krishna actually manifests his birth. So now, palpable, even more touchable, even more visible. Now, because pastimes of birth is performed, now their abhimana is stronger of Nanda and Yashoda. Oh, actually birth happened. Actually he is our son. That it become even stronger. So what Krishna does, he manifests from spiritual potency, actually husbands of gopis in the Gokul. So their paramorship become even more convincing, even more stronger. Their love becomes even more stronger. Therefore, Gokul is even higher, because these pastimes are even more expanded in the form. And what is it? It's just to reciprocating their abhiman, their swarup. So this is what is explained. No? So this is this much difference only. In the rasa of parental affection, the sentiments of Nanda Yashoda, their parents, becomes manifest in more tangible form in pastimes of birth, etc. And in Amara Rasa, the corresponding sentiments of concubinage in the respective gopis become manifest in forms of their marriages with Abhimanyu, Govardhan, etc. These are the husbands of gopis. You see that? In reality, there is no such separate entity as husbandhood of the gopis, either in Goloka or Gokul. Actually, they are not some husbands. Hence, the Shastra declared there is no sexual union of gopis with their husbands. It is also for the same reason that authorized teacher of the principle of rasa, Śrī Rupa, writes that in the transcendental amorous rasa, the hero is of two different types: the wedded husband, Swakya rasa, and the paramorship, Patish, Chopapatish, Cheti Prabhedav, Iha Vishrutavit. Sri Jiva, in his commentary by his words, Pati Pura Vanitanam Vityo Vraja Vanitanam. Again, now he's quoting, even Jiva Goswami agrees with it. Acknowledges the eternal paramorship of Krishna in Goloka and Gokul, and the husband of Krishna in Vaikuntha and Dwaraka, etc. So people, some scholars speculate that, oh, you see, there is controversy. Jiva Goswami says Swakya and Rupa Sanatan Parakya, but it's not true. Jiva Goswami says also that Parakya is there, and here quote is right given. In the Lord of Goloka and the Lord of Gokul, the character of Paramoship is found in its complete form. Krishna's deliberate overstepping of his own quality of self-delightedness is caused by desire of union with another's wedded wife. The state of being another's wedded wife is nothing but the corresponding assumed sentiment, abhiman, of the part of the gopis. In reality, they have no husbands with independent and separate existence. Still, their very egoistic sentiment makes them have the nature of the wedded wives of others. So all the characteristics, the desire makes the paramourship overstep the bounds of duty, etc., are eternally present in the seat of all deliciousness. In Raja, that very thing reveals itself to an extent in a form more tangible to persons with mundane eyes. So now this is the problem, because this is display with the forms of husbands, with the forms of real, that mundane people misunderstand. Immediately they link, oh, this is not proper. Or they say, oh, this is very good, I also want. So which one is worse? This is like that. So purport continues. It's a huge purport. Huh? Everyone okay? Shall we continue? Huh? Consider. Not much left. 2 paragraphs left. Okay. Actually, so in Goloka, there is inconceivable distinction and non-distinction between rasas analogous to mundane concubineship and wifehood. Okay. So in the spiritual world, what is it? Is it Swakya or is it Parakya in Goloka? Because there his expansions is a Swakya, they're his own wives, you see her many, and anyway husbands do not exist. So it's Swakya. And but because Abhimana is there, that is Parakya, therefore it is Parakya also. So in Goloka there is inconceivable distinction and non-distinction between rasas analogous to mundane concubineship and wifehood. Parakya is Swakya. Both exist simultaneously. So both what Jiva Goswami says is true, what Rupa Sanat says is true. It may be said with the equal truth that there is no distinction of Goloka between the two, as also that there is such distinction. The essence of paramourship is the cessation of ownership, and the abeyance of the ownership is the enjoyment of his own chit potency in the shape of abeyance of paramourship or enjoyment without the sanction of the wedlock. So the essence of the parakya is when you give up that idea of ownership, or my husband, in the swakya, then it becomes the parakya. And ownership is the enjoyment of his own chit potency in shape of abeyance of paramourship or enjoyment without the sanction of wedlock. The conjunction of the two exists there as one rasa, accommodating both varieties. So Kṛṣṇa is enjoying Madhurya rasa in the spiritual world in Swakya and Parakya. In Gokul, it is really the same, with the difference that it produces different impression on observers belonging to the mundane plane. So what happens in Gokul? You are seeing difference because you are seeing the husbands, you are seeing the birth of Krishna. So you think, oh, this is different than that. But there is no difference. There is no difference because both are spiritual, both are just manifestation of yoga mind, both are Krishna and his own expansions. In Govinda, the hero of Goloka, there exists both husbandhood and paramourship, above all piety and impiety, and free from all grossness. Such is also the case with hero of Gokul, although there is distinction in realization caused by yoga maya. So now he's going back to that purpose that now, how much you are advanced, you will see that there is no difference. If it be urged that what is manifested by yoga maya is the highest truth, being the creation of chit potency, and that therefore the impression of paramourship is also really true, the reply is that there may exist an impression of analogous sentiment egoism in the testing of rasa free from any offense, because it is not without a base in truth. Because it is, again, whatever it exists in spiritual exists here in material, but here in Gokul is actually of the pure nature, or the pure sentiment. But the unwholesome impression that is produced in mundane judgment is offensive, and as such cannot exist in pure chitra. So if it is really mundane, then this is not spiritual world, but Shastra says spiritual world. if it's mundane, then it's not spiritual. It's material. It's bad. In fact, Sripad Jiva Goswami has come to the true conclusion, and at the same time, finding of the opposite party is also inconceivably true. It is the vain empirical wranglers about wedded wifehood and concubinage which is false and full of speculation veracity. Means some scholars go on speculating, debating, but they cannot come to the proper conclusion. Okay. He who goes through the commentary of Sripad Jiva Goswami and those of the opposing party with an impartial judgment cannot maintain his attitude of protest engendered by any real doubt. If you actually read Jiva Goswami's book, you will have no any doubt what he is actually explaining. What the unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Lord says is all true and is independent of any consideration of all wholesomeness, pros and cons. So pure devotee is Srila Jiva Goswami, what he says is true. There's no falsehood in his commentary. There is, however, the element of mystery in their verbal controversies. Those whose judgment is made of mundane stuff, being unable to enter into the spirit of the all-loving controversies among pure devotees, due to their own want of unalloyed devotion, are apt to impute to the devotees their own defects of partisanship and opposing views. So those people who are materially contaminated, they are always competing and proving my opinion, your opinion. They cannot see the all-loving controversies among pure devotees. They cannot understand this, that why should apparently Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami promoting Parakya Amor and Srila Jiva Goswami's Vakya Amor. They did not understand. There is no controversy. There is no all-loving controversy. Why it is explained and how it is true, both are explained. Okay. Commenting on the shloka of Rasa Panchadhyay, Gopinam Tat Patinam Cha, Srila Sanatana Goswami has stated conclusively in his Vaishnava Toshini, has been accepted with reverence by true devotees Sripad Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur without any protest. So again, he is confirming. Sanatana Goswami says, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also says same thing. Okay. Okay, so here, whenever any dispute arises regarding the pure cognitive pastimes, such as Golok, etc., we would do well to remember the precious advice from the holy lips of Sriman Mahaprabhu and his associates, the Goswamis, that the truth absolute is ever characterized by spiritual variegatedness that transcends the variegatedness of mundane phenomena, but he is never featureless. So now what is the thing? The thing is that because of all this discussion, people tend to become impersonalists also. Impersonalists, you see, all this is Sakya Pargya, oh, it's all mundane. But here, he is never featureless. He is never non-attractive. He is always all attractive. He always has a form. He always has his pastimes. Just because you cannot understand, you can't deal with it. So it's easier to forget these forms and pastimes and everything. This is all Maya. And this is Mayavad. Mayavad says Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes is all Maya because they cannot understand it, because they cannot enter into the depth of it. The divine rasa is lovely with the variatedness of the fourfold distinction of Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvika, Vyabhichari Bhav, and that we were discussing previously. And rasa is ever present in Goloka and Vaikuntha. The rasa of Goloka manifests as Raja rasa on the mundane plane for the benefit of devotees by power of Yoga Maya. So to bring devotees into the rasa, Lord performed these pastimes within material realm. Whether is observable in Gokul rasa should be visible in Goloka rasa. Whatever is observable in Gokul rasa should be visible in Goloka rasa in a clearly explicit form. Hence, the distinction of paramourship and concubinage, the variatedness of the respective rasa of all different persons, the soil, water, river, hill, portico, bower, cows, etc. All the features of Gokul exist in Goloka, disposed in an appropriate manner. So look, you have houses, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yamuna, everything is in Goloka. You have it in Gokul. So if you have Parakya here, you have Parakya there also. This is simple. There is only this peculiarity that mundane conception of human being possessed of material judgment regarding those transcendental entities do not exist there. So they say, no, cannot be. Parakya cannot be in the spiritual world. But it's there. The conception of Goloka manifests itself differently in proportion to the degree of realization of various pastimes of Raja. It's very difficult to lay down and definite criterion as to which portions are mundane and which are uncontaminated. The more the art of devotion is tinged with the self of love, the more will the transcendental concept gradually manifest itself. So this is again explained. So there is no need of further hypothetical speculation which does not improve one's spiritual appreciation, as the substantiate knowledge of Goloka is an inconceivable entity. So what is used? You people speculate, but doesn't help you advance spiritually. No? To try to pursue the inconceivable by the conceptual process is like pounding the empty husk of grain. What is the use? You're not going to understand your mundane knowledge. Unless you develop pure devotion, you will not see, you will not understand it, which is sure to have fruitless ending. It is therefore one's bounded duty, by refraining from the endeavor to know, to try to gain the experience of transcendental by the practice of pure devotion. So this is advice. We chant, we serve, we surrender. Then we will see the pure, the true transcendental nature, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitagas. And of course, the adaptation of which tends to produce the impression of featurelessness must be shunned by all means. And this tendency that, okay, let's go to for impersonal is easier to explain. His mind is peaceful. We don't have to deal with these controversies. That should be shunned. They should be rejected by any means. Unalloyed Parikya Rasa, free from all mundane conception, is most rare attainment. Now, this is the conclusion of the purport. Parakya is supreme. It is this which has been described in the narrative of Pastimes of Gokul. Those devotees who follow the dictate of their pure spontaneous love should base their devotion endeavors on that narrative. Means now we are speaking about Raganuga following Ragatmika Bhaktas. They will attain to the more wholesome fundamental principle on reaching the stage of realization. The devotional activities characterized by illicit amour, as practiced by worldly mind and conditioned soul, are forbidden mundane impiety. So those who follow Raga Atmika Bhaktas, Raganuga Sadhakas, they with their purity, with their proper guidance, with their realization, they are eligible to enter into this understanding. But those illicit relationship on mundane platform, this is absolutely forbidden mundane impiety. The heart of our apostle, Sripad Jiva Goswami, was very much moved by such practices and induced him to give us his conclusive statements on the subject. So now the reason why Srila Jiva Goswami is actually so much showing shloka, swagya, because he was afraid people are going to misunderstand, use Krishna's pastimes to enjoy material life. This is worst. We are using material resources. We are enjoying sceneries, we are enjoying food, we are enjoying cars, we are enjoying fame, we are enjoying money. This is all Krishna's energy. But to take Krishna's own transcendental pastimes for our own enjoyment, this is the worst of the sins. This is the worst, Not only we are using material energy for his enjoyment, now we want to use spiritual energy for our enjoyment. It's the worst thing. It is the duty of a pure Vaishnava to accept the real spirit of his statements. It is a great offense to disrespect the Acharya and to seek to establish a different doctrine in opposition to him. So then we have a commentary of Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. We have his explanation of it, And I'll just conclude with one Srila Prabhupada's quote. Of course, one more quote from Bhagavatam, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur quotes here, just to conclude. Anyone, Bhagavatam says, who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So Bhagavatam very clearly states, if you actually hear from the bona fide source, from the parampara, from the pure devotees, the transcendental nature of Krishna's pastimes, Madhurya Lis, Shringara Rasa, with his gopis. You'll be free from lust. You will conquer the disease of the heart, lust, and you will develop love for God in the highest form. So this is how is it so if it is material, no? If it is mundane. So Srila Prabhupada says, of the four kinds of reciprocation or loving service, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, Madhurya is considered the fullest. But the conjugal relationship is further divided into two varieties, namely Swakiya and Parakya. Swakiya is the relationship with Kṛṣṇa as a formally married husband, and Parakya is the relationship with Kṛṣṇa as paramour. Expert analysts have decided that the transcendental ecstasy of the Parakya mellow is better because it's more enthusiastic. This phase of conjugal love is found in those who have surrendered to Lord in intense love, knowing well that such illicit love with the paramour is not morally approved in society. The risk involved in such love of Godhead make this emotion superior to the relationship in which such risk is not involved. The validity of such risk, however, is possible only in transcendental realm. Swakiya and Parakya, conjugal love of Godhead, have no existence in the material world, and Parakya is not exhibited anywhere in Vaikuntha, but only in portion of Goloka Vrindavan known as Raja. So this is Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita explanation. Okay, so thank you very much for your patience. We extended a little bit reading because this is really long purport, but this is really all speaking about the same thing, explaining from different angles. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Vistabireva Nija Rupataya Kala Goloka Eva Neva Satya Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. Thank you very much for your patience. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Śrī Brahma-saṁhitā ki jai, Gaur Premananda. Hare Krishna.